Alright, I am making this video to attempt to explain some ideas that Daniel had written about a few days ago. And it didn't seem like people were getting it that I saw. And I figured that if I explained it a different way, more people might be able to engage with it more successfully or productively or something. I do think there is something to the idea that Daniel is talking about. And I have thought about it before myself and just kind of like, wasn't really my thing. But I think it's a totally valid question. And I would not be surprised if there were something to the idea. I'm making this video without any planning, which is why I am in a kitchen and am using a poor quality webcam and am hardly looking my best. But, strike when the motivation is available, I suppose. Okay, so just going over a brief recap of the triads themselves, and I will take photos and attach them in the comments of the things that I'm showing on camera in case it doesn't end up being that legible. But we will make do here with these, and hopefully these are semi-readable. You'll see figure A. These are all triads you know. I'm going over things you guys will already know, but just for the sake of clarity and intelligibility of the later ideas that Daniel had offered forth that were perhaps less than clear to everyone. So figure A, you've got an example of an intelligence-centered triad, the gut triad, 9, 1, and 8. Figure B, an example of a harmonic triad, the positive outlook triad, 9, 2, and 7. Figure C, you've got an objects relation triad, the attachment triad shown, types 9, 3, and 6. And then figure D, you've got a Ornavian triad, the withdrawn triad, 9, 4, and 5. These are examples of the 4 commonly recognized triads, or triadic sets, whatever you want to call them, currently talked about in enneagram. And what you'll see when you overlay them all is shown in figure E here. One example from all triads shown at once. The examples I gave above. You'll see they all overlap at 9, and that'll be important in a minute. And then you'll see here, the last thing on this page is figure F, an example of how the triads get rotated 120 degrees such that essentially all currently recognized triads are anchored around attachment. So here is shown another Hornevian. Up here we have withdrawn Hornevian, and then the arrow going down to the compliant Hornevian triad. And of course there is also the assertive triad. The compliant being 6, 1, and 2, and the assertive being 3, 7, and 8. But they are, all of the triads have as the apex of the tip of the isosceles triangle forming them, most of them, and that is an important detail also that I'll show in a moment, have attachment types as their anchor. So if you overlay figures A through D, you get figure E. And as you rotate figure E, which if I'll show that again, and I might have to take a brief break here for a second. All right, hopefully my mojo wasn't thrown off too much there, but resuming loosely where I had been. You'll see the Hornevian triad here. To get the other triads in this set of Hornevian triads, you rotate it 180 degrees. To start from 6, you get compliant. To start from 3, you get assertive. In the same way, when you combine all 4 of these into figure E here, you see 1 from each. You rotate this entire figure 120 degrees, and then 120 degrees again, creating these 4, an additional 4 originating from 6, and an additional 4 originating from 3, giving you 12 total triads. This gives you 10 total triads, and there are an additional 2 triads is a special case from the objects relation triads. The object relation triads are, and I haven't drawn this yet, it'll be attached in the comments, a finished version. The other triads, 3, 6, and 9 are the attachment triad. However, 2, 5, and 8 are the rejection triad or the power triad, and 1, 4, and 7 are the frustration triad or the idealist triad. And you'll see here, I have figure G shows that to give you all of the existent triads minus or except for the object relations triads, they all originate from 9, 6, and 3. So what Daniel is suggesting is, what if as opposed to the system we have now where figure A, figure B, and figure D are rotated only 120 degrees such that their origination points are only attachment? What if you originated figure A where either type on either side of the origination point? So remember, in figure A, 9 created with 1 and 8, you get the gut center triad. Well, what if you, instead of rotating it all the way to 3, what if you only rotated it to 1? That would give you a new triad of 9 and 2. Well, what would a 9, 1, 2 triad look like? We don't know. That's the point. Or what if instead of taking the Hornevian triad of withdrawn of 9, 4, and 5 here, what if instead of rotating it all the way to 6, you rotated it only to 7? And so now you have 7, 2, and 3. What is a 2, 3, 7 triad? What do 2, 3, and 7 have in common? We don't know. Currently, the only Hornevian triad involving, or the only triad of that shape is a Hornevian triad with 3, 7, and 8. That's the assertive triad, and everyone knows that one. But what would a 2, 2, 3, 7 triad look like? And that's what Daniel is offering as what could be undiscovered triads. I think in his original post a few days ago, I wrote out all the possible triads, just for like visual aid of thinking about it. But yeah, let me know if this was any clearer than what Daniel wrote, or was about as clear, or was just even worse and was even muddier. Hopefully not. Yeah, I do think that there is a tremendous depth to Enneagram, and there's zero reason for us to say this isn't part of the canon. Like, there's the Enneagram canon isn't closed. There's no reason to say no teacher I've heard of teaches these things. I think it would be very hubristic and unhelpful, frankly, to adopt that sort of closed-minded attitude. I think Daniel is exactly the kind of thinker, doing the kind of thinking we want to encourage in a new generation. I think a lot of people in this group and in IEA and in professional Enneagram especially skews older. And there isn't a whole lot of new exploratory thought that I've seen being done among young people. And so, yeah, whether or not these triads actually exist, I lean towards doubting it. Daniel leaned towards believing it. I would love for some of us to prove him right. That would be amazing, and it would be incredible to see that stuff being born here in this group, or wherever. So yeah, I would just encourage you to give it a think. Think not only, well, gee, what do 7, 2, and 3 share in common that no other numbers really do? But also, why would that be a triad? I lean against believing that sort of thing because I think attachment forms a sort of solid basis out of which the entire Enneagram blossoms in a certain way. I think that sort of stability that like ties everything together is represented by the triangle as opposed to the much more dynamic hexad figure. But I would love to be wrong, and I'm not gonna be caught having been wrong and scoffing at it. I definitely want to be there when these discoveries are made. So come along with me and Daniel, and let's see what we can find.